I tried making a build in Diablo 4 only using unique items. Then I quickly changed my mind and instead I made this build, which although it only uses 6 uniques, it easily clears tier 100 nightmare dungeons and is so much fun to play. What actually makes this build unique is the playstyle. We're able to spam penetrating shot, the most resource heavy rogue core skill. How, you might ask?
Ring of Starless Skies.
Each consecutive core skill we use gets cheaper, up to 40%, and our pants, Tybalt's Will, give us 50 energy whenever we become unstoppable. So we're running both Shadow Step and Concealment for the Unstoppable. On top of that, we're using the Forgotten class specialization Inner Sight, which when it triggers allows us to become an absolute monster turret, firing our core skill uninterrupted. Most people swear by using Metamorphosis in Season 2 to become unstoppable whenever they evade, but there's 2 reasons I'm using a Cursed Touch instead. 1, I can apply Vampiric Curse from afar, instead of having to get up close and evade through monsters. 2, it boosts the damage from the Stored Souls, which is those ghosts that trigger each time I use Shadow Step. This is a nice extra source of damage, even at high levels. The other seasonal powers give us attack speed, damage reduction, vulnerable, and sustain from Undying. So, this build has great AoE damage, it has speed and mobility, tankiness, it's like a 5 out of 10 for boss killing, it's not a meta build for some extra hipster points, and hand on heart, it's the most fun rogue build I've played to date. Nothing beats the instant dopamine of penetrating shot, compared to, for example, Twisting Blades, where you have to stab the monster, wait for the knives to come out and spin around you. With penetrating shot, you just click, boom. I'm also using the Shako I found yesterday. You should watch the video to see me pee my pants if you haven't, which not only boosts our damage on penetrating shot since it's rank 15, but Shako also boosts our defense from Dark Shroud. And conveniently enough, it also reduces the cooldown of Concealment. So all in all, it's a pretty disgusting item. With that being said, you don't need any rare items to make a simpler version of this build work. I'm just showcasing its endgame potential for you in this video. I've included a budget version of this build in the description. Here's the rest of my gear. If you haven't noticed already, my penetrating shots bounces off of walls because of the eagle horn bow. This can get pretty insane. For example, here when I'm fighting the butcher, my DPS goes through the roof because he's being hit multiple times from the bounces. I'm using Grasp of Shadow, which now gives +6 to core skills, and since penetrating shot has a really good lucky hit chance, we also spawn a shadow clone quite often. We have Flicker Step so that we can have 100% uptime on our shadow clone ultimate, and we get our defenses from Disobedience in our armor and a 69% Umbrus in our amulet, giving us a nice chance of keeping 5 Dark Shroud shadows at all times. And here's our skill tree real quick. We occasionally use Invigorating Strike for more energy sustained on bosses specifically because bosses since the latest patch are very tanky. Of course, we got our penetrating shot with some sustain and movement speed. Our Shadow Step, we have a lowered cooldown for just more opportunities to get unstoppable. We have our Concealment that basically gives us 90 energy whenever we use it, and we guarantee a crit strike whenever we get out of it. We get even more movement speed from our Dark Shroud, and we are ignoring the imbuement tree because we are 100% physical damage here, and of course our Shadow Clone with some lucky hit going on here. And we even have 2 points in impetus because we move around a lot, and we have Aftermath, which gives us another 30, so that's a total of 80 energy every time we use our ultimate as well. And down here, close quarters combat, which might seem a bit weird because we're using a ranged skill, but this is definitely the strongest key passive for the rogues right now because it essentially gives 20% attack speed and double damage at all times because of the crowd control damage that we're able to stack. And fun fact, the way we trigger close quarters combat is by using Shadow Step, since it's a cutthroat skill. And here's our Paragon board. We're starting off with Ranger, maxed out, 70 dexterity. We are moving into our first board, Cheap Shot here with a bunch of crowd control damage. We're using control here for 130% crowd control damage, and not only does all of this boost our close quarters combat bonus, but with penetrating shot we actually slow and knock down things we hit, so we actually get a damage boost from this board as well. Next board is Cunning Stratagem with Exploit, and coming down here we've got Leyrana's Instinct. I'm using Pride to boost the rare nodes, and the rare node here is 6% all res, so this one node is giving us 13.5% resistance to all elements. And if you notice here up in the previous board, we got even more all res combined with our all res in our starter board. We got maxed out resistance without having any resistance from our items here. How's this possible?
Ring of Starless Skies.
Unlike every other ring in this game that gives all res and one specific resistance, this ring gives 2 sets of all resistance, making it very easy for us to hit that all res cap just by adding a little bit from our Paragon board. And let me show you our final board up here. This is Tricks of the Trade. We're using Chip for even more physical damage, and share this video with your fellow rogue players.